Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow app builders. Hope you guys are doing well. In today's video, we are going to be doing another user request. Let's go ahead and take a look at this message from someone named Jim Milo, I believe his name is pronounced. And he has a long comment here, but let's just read the important section of it. He says, I'm leaving a comment here because I'd like to ask you a favor for this series of recreating the YouTube app. Would you please make the setting button on the upper right corner work? The button with 3 white dots that triggers the half screen menu sliding up from the bottom. Then he goes on to mention a couple of more popular apps such as YouTube, Evernote that has this type of menu. And then he goes on to presenting some solutions or possible solutions to accomplishing this task. All right, good question, Jim. Now, let's go ahead and show you what exactly he is talking about. So I'm gonna go into Simulator here, and let me just bump this up and bring it to the center here. And okay, so inside of my kind of somewhat semi-completed application here, I'm gonna click this menu on the top right. You see the menu slides up from the bottom to somewhat near the middle, and we also get this black dimmed out kind of cover that you can dismiss by clicking onto it. I'm gonna click that, dismiss the menu by clicking here. And then also if I click here, if I click on one of these menus, cancel, it actually tells me that I hit the cancel button. So it's aware of which item you clicked onto. So settings gives me the settings. So pretty good, pretty self-explanatory, but achieving this is actually pretty easy as well. It's easier than you would expect from such a really cool, nifty menu. All right, so pretty exciting stuff. And let's go ahead and dive into the code for building out such a cool menu system. Now I'm gonna run this code right here. And here's what we get. Hitting that menu does absolutely nothing. So here is the code that we have so far. And where we left off last was kind of figuring out how all the images load correctly, right? So I'm gonna tell you this, if you're just watching this video now, you don't need any prior knowledge of what happened before. The only thing you need to know is that we're setting up this navigation button up here, and it's called nav more icon. We have an icon in our assets catalog, and it's calling this handle more function right here. And then we're gonna execute some code. So show menu. And that's all you need to know. So I do highly recommend that you watch the previous videos on how to get to this point, but it's not absolutely necessary that you know what's going on. Anyhow, we're gonna respond to this top right menu button by doing this. So let's go back to the other application, right? And this animation right here is separated into 2 parts. First is the black dimmer background that shows up, and then we have this bottom collection view that slides up from the bottom. So why don't we first accomplish this by showing the black background view? Now that's very easy to do. If we just simply say let black view equals UI view like this, set the background color to say UI color dot black color like that. And now what do we need to do? Well, first we need to add it as a sub view onto the view controller's view. So I'm going to call view.add subview, black view like this. And then we need to either set constraints on the black view or set a frame like this. So I'm going to call it CG rect make, and this will be something, right? So you can actually specify 4 values in here, or you can just say view.frame like that. And now we're going to run this handle more code, which gets executed when we hit that top right button. And you see how we get this black background now. So you notice how we actually need to cover the entire application with this black view, but the view controller only extends up to here, around here. And then we get the menu that's actually covering the view controller's view. So we'll fix this by actually accessing the entire apps window by doing this. So I'll go here. I'm gonna say if let window equals UI application, shared app key window. This is the entire application's window. And I'm gonna cut all this code, put it in here. And instead of adding it to the views subview, we'll just say window add subview, black view, get rid of this guy here. Instead of view, we'll say window.frame. Okay, pretty good. And now we're going to run the application, and upon hitting this settings button over here, we'll get the entire screen covered by this black view. That's pretty good. That's what we're trying to achieve. Now, how do we get it to be transparent? Well, instead of black color, we'll say UI color white like this, 0 for completely black, and alpha value of 0.5 to give it that little bit of transparency. Oh, all right. So hitting this more button, you get a dimmer transparent black view. Now we want to animate this black view onto the screen. So you notice before it just kind of popped in without slowly animating in. And we do the animation very, very simply by executing UI view, animate with duration. Let's just use this one for now. And duration will be 0.5 or however long you want your animation to last. So enter, and here we'll say black view dot alpha equals 1. Now if I run this, it's actually not going to do anything for us because black view's alpha is already 1, right? So the color has an alpha of 0.5, but the actual black view has an alpha value of 1 already. So if we set black view alpha equals 0, it'll animate the 0 value from, or the alpha from 0 to 1. Just like this. I'm going to click in, watch for the animation. So it slowly animates in, right? So that's pretty good. And let's figure out how to dismiss this black view when we tap on it. So if I tap on it, I want it to go away. And the way to do that is to add a gesture recognizer onto black view. So black view, add gesture recognizer. This will be UI tap gesture like so. And this will say target. Target is most always going to be self. Selector will be this pound selector thing. And we'll specify a selector. So here I like to call my selectors handle something. So handle dismiss. Typically that's my naming convention for my button handler functions, and that's what they should do. Handles the dismiss. Now we actually need to dismiss this black view from the entire window. Well, the first reaction that I have is I don't know what this black view is when I'm inside of this function, because this is inside of the scope of handle more. So to get it outside of the scope, I'm going to cut this here and paste it right there. And now we have access to black view. So let's fix this by adding a self there. And here we'll say UI view, animate with duration, 0.5 again. Animations will be, take a guess, it should be self black view dot alpha equals 0. So now let's run, and when we click on the black view, it's going to actually dismiss out. So go there, click there, you see it kind of just fades out and just dismisses itself. All right, not too bad, right? So the next thing we want to do is we want to animate the collection view from the bottom of the screen onto the kind of the middle right there. So in other words, we want to achieve this effect here where this comes from the bottom. Okay, so let's see, what do we want to do here? Now, before we implement the collection view animation, I want to talk about something called the fat controller issue that we commonly run into inside of iOS development. And the fat controller problem occurs whenever we introduce a ton of code like this that has pretty much absolutely nothing to do with our home controller. So home controller's full responsibility is to kind of orchestrate the behavior between the views and how they're presented on the screen. And it's not exactly its job to present this this settings collection view and that black background. So in order to avoid this fat controller problem is to introduce this idea of encapsulation. And encapsulation just pretty much packs all this code here into another class so that you kind of obscure all this code away from the home controller. And I'm going to do that inside of, let's see, view or controller. I'm going to put a a new file in here inside of my controller group and call it Swift file. I'm going to call this new file settings launcher right here. And then now we have this new file. I'm going to say import UI kit just so I can get access to this class. This NS object comes inside of UI kit. And this will be a settings launcher class. And in here, all we need to do is override init and call super init. And then we can probably start doing something here, maybe. Okay. And here we can actually take all of this code. I'm just going to copy all that. I'm going to paste it right above here. And instead of calling this handle more, I'm going to call this show settings like this. And I'm going to build this project now. And here's what I can do. To avoid the fat controller or fat view controller problem, I'm going to remove all these functions here and pretty much remove all that there. And it's still going to show my menu. And I need this handle more function because that's what's being called when I hit the more button. And up above, I'm going to say let settings launcher equal settings launcher like that. And that gives me the settings launcher right here. And when I have that available to me right here, I can call show settings and run the application. So it built fine, now it's running. And instead of calling all that junk, it's just going to call this code right here, which executes that. I hit more, gives me this dim view and dismisses upon hitting the black view. So pretty good. This is an excellent tip for those of you that are trying to be really, really solid programmers. This will save you a lot of time in the long run when you come back to your code and you kind of look at it and you can figure out what's going on. So setting launcher is fully responsible for launching the settings. So it's very obvious. The name of the file makes a lot of sense. Whew, pretty good. Nice explanation there. Good job, me. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to introduce this animation of this collection view right here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pop in a collection view when I enter this dark mode. Okay, now I am going to create this collection view up here. So I know a lot of you are already fully aware of my love for collection views, and this video tutorial is going to be no different. What I mean is I'm going to use a collection view yet again by creating one like this. Let CV equals UI collection view. And in here, we need to create this collection view. All right, so let's use this bottom constructor. Here, this is .0. That's our frame. That's a 0 frame actually. And this layout will say UI collection view flow layout right there. And here we'll say layout, return this collection view, and then execute this block, giving us this collection view as our class variable right here, or our local variable, I think they call it. So now we can do something. And what is that something? Well, we're just going to present this collection view inside of our window now. And let's just go here. So let's do this here. We'll say window.add subview collection view like this. And then we need to specify the frame of collection view right here. Frame is equal, say CG rect make 0, 0. And for width, we'll say window.frame.width. And for height, let's just use a value of perhaps 200. And let's run this application now. So make sure to add this collection view after the black view. Otherwise, this will be behind the black view and you don't want that. Okay, so hitting that, I get the dimmed out view, and then now I get this collection view up here. So first thing we need to fix from this view is to actually set the background color of the collection view to UI color, white color like that. And then let's run the application and see the effect it has. So clicking up here, we get this white collection view. Now we need to pop it all the way down to the bottom right here. And that's kind of where it needs to live. So I'm gonna do that first before I show you how to animate it from below. So how do we get the actual location to come all the way down here? Well, we need to actually change the Y value here. So I'm gonna say let Y equal something. This something will be the entire Windows height minus the height of this guy. Okay, so let's just capture this 200 value inside of height. So let's do height, and then let's do height equals 200 like that. And this Y value will be Windows height minus this 200 value up there. And this will now be Y. And then that looks pretty good, right? So we need to fix this error here, and we simply need to say height is a CG float value, because all of these values right here operate on a CG type system. So it's core graphics, that's what CG means, and we need all those values to be core graphic values. All right, so clicking that gives me this collection view down here. And now, let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to animate this from the bottom down here up to this location, right? So let's see, how do we want to do that? Well, the trick is we want to set this this frame here to down here, and then we'll just animate it up here. So it's very simple. And we're going to set the frame's original starting point Y value to be window.frame.height like this. And then inside of this animation block, we'll set the new frame of the collection view. So we'll say self.collectionView.frame equals this Y value here. So CG rect make, so 0, and use that Y value. Let's see, width is, let's see, self. Let's just be safe here and say self collection view frame dot width. Here we'll say self collection view frame dot height, and that's because we want to maintain the exact frame for the collection view. Now, running this application will get the sliding in of the collection view from the bottom. That looks pretty good, right? And let's see, what do we want to do? Okay, before I move on to filling out the collection view, I am going to show you something very, very cool with UI view animations. So notice how when I go inside of this application here, when I click on this button, there's a animation curve of an acceleration value in the beginning and a deceleration value at the very end of the animation. So that type of animation style or acceleration curve is called an ease out curve. And we want to have that inside of our application. Let's see. So I'm going to remove those couple of lines there. Get rid of these lines. So you notice how when I hit this button, the animation is linear. So it's a constant acceleration or constant velocity for the animation. I'm going to change that in here by saying UI view.animate with duration. So I'm going to use this spring dampening, the spring dampening animation right here. So you notice how we have using spring with dampening, and duration will be the same, 0.5, delay of 0, spring dampening is 1, spring velocity 1. So here is the important value. So instead of options, we'll hit dot curve ease out like that. Animations will hit enter. Completion will hit, let's just do nil for now. And then here we'll just take the entire animation that we had before and type it in there and remove this guy. Now we can hit run again, and that'll give us that smoother animation that's more similar to what we expect in real life. So I'm gonna hit that, and it kind of just slid in there. So I'm gonna show you that a little bit slower by changing the animation duration to 1.5 seconds, or run and hit the more button. It's gonna be slower. So it kind of slid up a little bit faster in the beginning, and then it slows down at the very end. So let's just change that value back to 0.5 and run this one more time to show you the very nice acceleration deceleration effect. So I'm gonna hit that, and there we go. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and I think I'm doing okay on time. And let's see. So the next video, I want to show you guys how to actually implement the rest of this animation and how to fill out the collection view. So the first problem we have that is still existing in this app right now is when I click this dim, this collection view stays onto the screen. So let me go ahead and fix that right now. So self.collectionView.frame, it needs to be the frame of down here. And we do that very easily by getting the Windows frame again. So if let window equals UI application, shared application, let's see, key window, and then we'll set this to, let's see, CG rect make 0, and the Y value is the interesting one where it's the frame dot height, and here we'll just say self collection view frame dot width again, self collection view frame dot height. Here we go. And now that we have that animation on dismiss, we'll see it go back to the very bottom of the screen. So click here, comes down, comes up, comes down, comes up, comes down, go up, go down. So this is a very fun animation to actually interact with. I can do this all day, but we do not have all day. And that's pretty much the kind of the end of today's video. All right, that about wraps it up for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed this really cool animation effect. Make sure to hit the like button if you do, and also hit subscribe. It really does go a long way to help out the channel. One other thing is, if you want to message me on Twitter or send me a tweet, you can go ahead and add me on Twitter with my handle build that app, and then have a nice chat with me if you have the time. Also, one other thing is, if you're interested in having me implement a fix or some kind of feature that you really want to see implemented, please make sure to leave a comment down below, and I'll try to find a solution for you and present it in the video in the next lesson. So hope you have a good day and keep on coding. Bye bye.